Ahlan. That's my best Arabic for you. Like I said, I told you guys I was gonna say hello in different languages from now on, at least as much as I can remember. I know. I think the last couple videos I didn't, and the last couple videos I didn't wear my signature mask. I feel like this is bright. I'm still trying to understand how to utilize this lighting the correct way, but I feel like it's just way too bright. Anyways, let's see. Bear with me. Nope, that ain't happening. That's better. That's a lot more softer. I felt like I feel like that one's just a. Oh, that's perfect. All right. I know my garage looks creepy in the background. I apologize for that, but um, I live in a small house. I don't live in a big house. It's expensive out here in California, and I haven't made a tremendous amount of money. I've made a decent amount. I just want to be more smart with my money. I just got back from Kane, so I know I was gonna start to do like a sponsor or a spill on each of my videos before I start talking about the actual topic at hand. If you get a chance to try Canes. I mean, I'm not saying that you'll fall in love with it. I like it. It's simple. I know, like even my mom's like it's too plain and simple. It's just chicken tenders. But I mean they're pretty good. I feel like when I want something, I don't want it to be like too much food, just enough to hit the spot and help me call it a you know get something in my belly. I like Canes, so if you get a chance to try Canes when you get a chance. To the subject now. I want to talk about like gender, sexuality, orientation. I know that's a big thing that a lot of people have difficulties with nowadays. Like um, either you're with it or you're against it. Um, I don't know if there's or you're confused. That's the only other I think option. You're either for it or you're against it, or you're against it because you're so confused, or you're just confused and you don't even know what to think. As long as you respect all people, and I feel like I'm in like that category. I'm like I took a class, sociology of gender, and I'm still kind of confused. Like to a certain degree, and I don't think any amount of somebody trying to talk to me will probably help me. It's not that I'm against any of that. It was just hard for me to understand it. There's the sex assigned at birth. There's what gender that you actually identify as, and then your sexuality, or orientation. Um, I know. Scientifically, yes, there is the possibility that there could be people, born. There's people XX, there's people XY, and then there is different anomalies, out there. There's people that could be born, XXY. There's people that could be born intersex, where they have both sex traits. I feel that's really a hard subject. I think the first third of this I'll talk about this, and then I'll go on to like gender identification, and then I'll go on to orientation, which I think this is probably the hardest out of all of them, um, in my personal opinion, because what do you do? What do you do? Like that person, that human being's not an adult yet, and you're gonna make a decision for them on what is gonna affect them for the rest of their life. And it's gonna influence how they view themselves. I feel like to a certain extent. I wouldn't know what to do if I had a child that was born intersex. I mean, to my knowledge, I don't think any of my kids were. There's a possibility where you could have a kid, you can have a child born, and they really do present like if they really do look like they're a certain gender, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they are that gender. Fully 100% scientifically through DNA testing. And as far as to my knowledge, all of my kids, are not their traditional sex traits. Um, I don't know what I would do being the parent. I have an idea of what I would do if I was in that position. I would personally, not do anything, just love that child, and then when the time comes when that child is starting to ask questions, in early puberty, just be there to help them through it, and let them decide on what they identify as. But it'll probably be very hard, I can imagine, I can only imagine that it's probably extremely difficult, for families to have to go through, that kind of situation. Um, that's what I think I would do if I was in that situation. I don't think, there's always the possibility where, you might say one thing, and then when the situation does present itself, you're like, you know what, I feel a certain way after all. Instead of feeling the way I did, I do feel like I want my baby to live a non-confusing life. Go ahead and assign it, this sex or whatnot. I think more often than not, I think it's easier to assign that baby the female sex than the male sex. Because even if you assigned it the male sex, if there's something wrong with the genitalia down there, I think it's harder to. It would be easier to revert to, or not revert, but um, to go male to female than female to male, I think. Because at the end of the day, if you even try to go female to male, if you have both, the male sex organs plus the female sex organs, you're still going to have all those hormones unless you get a hysterectomy, you know? And at that point, I don't know, it sounds pretty detrimental. It sounds a lot for a baby to, to go through. And even if they keep the organs as they get older, it seems like it would be a lot for a person to go through. But that's just my personal opinion, I respect all people. So I don't want people to think that I feel a certain way about people. I think people are unique in whatever they are, whoever they are, however they identify, And when it comes to gender, I think this is the one that kind of gets me confused. No. It's the orientation that gets me confused. Gender kind of gets me confused a little bit. I know that there's male, there's female. Then, there's people that identify as them, And then through all that, you have people that self-expression. I guess this is like a subcategory of gender. There's masculine males, there's feminine males, there's feminine females, and there's masculine females, And like, I think there is a middle one where it's like a neutral, female or male, and they're neutral. They don't try to be too feminine or too masculine. I might be mistaken. If I'm wrong, let me know. I mean, you've always seen examples, I think, of like, of course, there's going to be masculine males and feminine females. But I think that there's always been examples of like people that are females that are masculine. There's the classic tomboys, I think on the other end, it's not as talked about, like a feminine male. I think it's probably the most difficult out of all those, I think it's more acceptable to have a tomboy or like a masculine female versus a feminine male, in society, I think. That's just my maybe personal thought about it, it might not be true. And it's probably just by situation, everybody's situation is different too. But when it comes to that, that's always been interesting, like that concept of, you've seen examples. There's Prince. I think when it comes to celebrity though, that gets tossed out the window of what's normal, because celebrities don't live normal lives, to begin with. They're living in the light of the paparazzi. They don't have no privacy, and actually they get paid off of stunts, so they have to live their life to the utmost. They're eccentric, they're bohemian, they live a non-normal traditional life. You could look at, Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith. They don't live a normal life that people usually do. Being a kid, I mean, I can only imagine being on national television talking about your mom. When Jada was um, having an affair with that young guy, talking about your mom's affair. That's not something that you do. And then on top of that, that's not something that you do in the public setting. For an average person. Um, but yeah, but getting back to that, I think that one's not as complicating. The one that's kind of interesting to me is like when you're combining everything together. If somebody's a feminine male, but then they like girls, I think it's hard for people to process. Like, if he's a feminine male, how does he like girls still? Or if she's a masculine female, how does she like boys still? Um, and then I think it's hard for people to be like, well, if he's a transgender masculine female who is actually still a male by sex assigned, but he likes females, is he just straight at the end of the day? you know, I think that's when it gets hard for people to understand. Like, the expression, human expression, is so wide, and it's more on a spectrum than it is in black and white. Because even that makes my mind boggled sometimes. Like, if this person is sex assigned at birth a male, but then he's going to transition to be a female, but then he dresses almost tomboyish as a female, but he's attracted to females, then doesn't that just make him straight? And a lot of people, I think, get caught up on that, including myself to a certain point, because I'm like, there's a lot of dynamics going on in that person's mind frame, and there's the whole argument where, is there something wrong with these people? Do they have psychological diagnoses? And I think in today's world, psychological diagnoses are not looked at in a negative light. So even if there is something psychologically wrong, or psychologically diagnosed or undiagnosed with this person, it doesn't mean that they're wrong. And I think a lot of people are saying, well, there's something that has to be going on with this person to make this person feel the need to change their sex, change the way that they identify, keep changing how they identify, keep changing who they're sexually attracted to, and it does. I can only imagine, somebody who's going through all that, maybe it's just maybe these people are more in tune with sexuality than the regular person is. You don't know that, um, I haven't personally met anybody in this subculture or in this group. This group. I guess it's LGBTQ. But I think there's people that can be on this spectrum and not be LGBTQ. Because you could have a guy who's straight, who's cisgender, and he just dresses a little non-conforming male. Maybe he likes to dress, like a prince. Maybe he's a flamboyant guy. Because let me take it back. I have had friends that were very flamboyant, but they were still straight at the end of the day. And vice versa. I've had guys that were, you wouldn't think that they were gay. They're very masculine, into weightlifting, into like trucks, into barbecuing, into like traditionally male dominated arenas, and they were gay. So with that being said, I just want to see if anybody got any any feedback on this topic. Any feedback is greatly appreciated and welcomed. And I know I haven't got any views on my videos, but hopefully it catches fire. I'm gonna look into this content creating a little bit more in depth and see what I could do more to facilitate the growth of this channel. And with that being said, you guys take care, and you guys have a good night. Checking out from California.